Kansas State won the toss, deferred their option to the second half. So Oklahoma State will start with the football. Bob Wischusen, Matt Millen upstairs, and Quinn Kesnick downstairs. Quinn?
Oklahoma State tonight will be playing without their leading rusher, Desmond Rowland. He's got over 500 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. He's at home with his family after the passing of his mother earlier this week. Enter Tyreek Hill. Matt mentioned him earlier in the open. Junior college transfer with world-class speed. He's a big play every time he touches the ball.
And we are underway here in Manhattan. Hill from a yard deep. Thought about it for a moment. And after second guessing, brings it out. Comes up short of the 20-yard line, brought down at about the 17. So Dax Garman, 11 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. And Matt, he has committed multiple turnovers in each of his last 5 games. Still learning, and was not supposed to be the starter this year for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, but he is. And the turnovers are what has been killing him and this team. And so he's been getting them in double doses, too, as a matter of fact. He cannot do that tonight and expect to have success. He just needs to take exactly what Kansas State will give them, and they will give him stuff.
Tyreek Hill, Jeremy Seaton flanking Garman. 1st and 10 from the 16. Hill runs into a wall of purple on 1st down. May have picked up a yard. Driven back by Travis Britz. And let's take a look at our impact players, brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
Well, you start talking about Tyreek Hill. You mentioned it earlier about him being a big play. It can happen at any time. He has tremendous speed once he gets to the edge. Jonathan Truman is the picture of consistency. He's done it all season long. He's their top tackler, and with good reason.
Draw play. Hill's got speed. He can turn the corner, tiptoes in bounds, and it looks to be good enough for an Oklahoma State 1st down. Stepped out right at the 26-yard line. And it looks like without measurement, he'll pick up the 1st down.
Okay, this is the speed we're talking. We're talking world class. I'll tell you who he reminds me of when he was at University of Pittsburgh. LaShawn McCoy. Same type of thing. He's got that kind of speed, and guys who have speed, they try to get to the edge outside right away. He has to figure out how to be a runner inside and then use his speed.
Garman's first throw underneath, wide open Marcel Aitman, and he muscles his way to the 1st down marker. Picks up 9 on 1st down. Danzel McDaniel bumped him out.
Okay, so this is what Kansas State will do. Kansas State will not beat themselves. They will expect you to try to be very patient. They'll give you underneath things. If you're looking at it, see they're playing their safeties back. They're saying, go ahead and run. We'll let you down the field. Go ahead, throw underneath. Then we'll play good red zone defense and get off the field. So you must be patient when playing this defense.
A little toss to the edge. Hill with a cutback. He's got room. Spins near midfield. Another Oklahoma State 1st down. Dante Barnett made the stop after a gain of 12.
Okay, so you can see they're spinning their safety down. Number 20 as he comes down. Now Hill, that time, very patient. Letting things develop. That's what he needs to do more of. Don't be in a rush to get outside. Your opportunity will come, and when that happens, that's when you hit your burst.
Garman right at the seam for Hill, drops it in stride. And just like that, the Cowboys are in the red zone. Jonathan Truman could not stay with Tyreek Hill. Hey, few can. He's got that kind of speed.
Yeah, but that's actually not bad coverage. This is a tough thing to be able to handle. Truman's got to see him and run right down the middle of that field. They have their safety split. One of the holes in the cover 2 is right down the middle. They took advantage of it. Good protection, nice throw by Garman.
So Matt, already the situation that you knew would come. And that is Oklahoma State in the red zone. Can they get 7 instead of 3?
Now look at the covers. Now everything's tight. Everything's up. Angles change down here. Coverage change.
Diamond formation, and they throw out of it to the true freshman James Washington. He gets inside the 15 to about the 13-yard line for a gain of 5. And Oklahoma State in the red zone. This is their 31st trip this season. In the previous 30 trips, only 13 touchdowns. That's not the kind of red zone touchdown percentage that Mike Gundy's teams in the past have put up.
They look to the left now automatically, and now they're kicking it over. They're kicking coverage back to the top side to even it up. Light box inside. See if they don't run at it.
Draw play. The C's part. Inside the 5-yard line, down to the 3 goes Tyreek Hill. It is 1st and goal. And this might be uncharted waters for both of these teams, because on opening drives, Oklahoma State hasn't scored a touchdown and Kansas State hasn't given one up. But there it is. The first for both. Right up the middle, untouched. Tyreek Hill puts the Pokes on top.
That was just simple. That choose was exactly what we spoke about prior to the game. They needed to be patient and take what Kansas State's defense would give them. I mentioned to you having a light box. There it is. There's not enough numbers up inside, so there's not very many defenders at the line of scrimmage because you have everybody spread out. So you run right at it, and the result was nice. 6 points.
8 plays, 84 yards, and it couldn't have looked much easier for Oklahoma State. Ben Grogan right down the middle. A 3-yard touchdown run for Tyreek Hill. Oklahoma State in a nasty atmosphere here in Manhattan. A flawless opening drive for Oklahoma State on the road here in Manhattan. They've got the touchdown lead, 8 plays. They march right down the field, and in case you missed the touchdown run a moment ago by Tyreek Hill, and that drive engineered by Dax Garman. Video of the touchdown now posted on the SportsCenter app, available on your mobile devices and tablets whenever you're in need. Bob Wischusen, Matt Millen, Quinn Kesnick here in Manhattan. And this was a loud crowd, but not so now. They have quieted down as the Cats are about to get the football for the first time. Tyler Lockett, a very dangerous return man. They'll try and keep it away from him if they can. They'll kick it to Morgan Burns instead. He gets a slow start, but has room. Morgan Burns splits the special teams coverage unit, and he is gone. Just like that, Kansas State on the board.
A lot of times when there's a mishandled ball or a little hesitation, guys get messed up in their running lanes because they see a ball and they get out of the lane and create it. And here it is. Morgan Burns sees it right away. As soon as he dropped that, it kind of skewed to the left and it opened it up. And all it takes is one man out of his lane. Burns found it.
Matthew McCrane sneaks through the point after. We have yet to see Kansas State's offense on the field, and we've seen 2 touchdowns already. Oklahoma State starts with a touchdown drive, and the Wildcats answer right back on the Birds. The Oklahoma State Cowboys are in town, but they've got Cowboys here at K-State as well. The K-State rodeo team competes in the Central Plains region. And Tanner Bruner, a senior in animal science, won the steer wrestling title in the Central Plains region this year. And we're deadlocked at 7 again. Kansas State with a kickoff return for a touchdown a moment ago by Morgan Burns. So now Oklahoma State about to get the football right back as their very impressive opening drive was quickly erased on special teams. From the goal line, Tyreek Hill. He found an alley, but not nearly, Matt Millen, as wide as the alley that Morgan Burns found a moment ago.
Well, sometimes what happens when you drop it, guys get out of their lanes because they're looking up ahead. So here's what has to happen. They have to come straight down. And when you're facing the guy who's going to block you, and they block you a certain way, you have to fight back across their face. In this instance, that's Curry Sexton, number 14, with a fantastic block right there, and Weston Hybrid, number 17, right there, and there's the difference in the play. Just that horizontal separation creates a lane, and Burns was able to take advantage of it.
And interesting how the timing can be thrown off by the return man dropping the ball.
Exactly.
Brenny Childs just back for the first time since he was injured against Kansas 3 games ago. Had not played for the last 3 games before tonight, but he's back in the lineup. He picks up 6 there, of course, as Quinn Kesnick mentioned before kickoff. Desmond Rowland mourning the passing of his mom. is back home in Texas, and he is not with the team tonight here in Manhattan. Screen behind the pressure to James Washington, and the true freshman has a first down.
Shoes, here's another guy that Oklahoma State has that they can take advantage of what he brings to the table. This Washington kid's got great speed, and he's got an ability with the ball in his hands to make a play. But he still needs to learn how to play this game. He doesn't quite have the awareness that you want, but he's getting there.
Garmin on the slam. Perfectly thrown and spinning for a first down is Jawan Seals. He was suspended for last week's game. That led to James Washington getting his first career start. Now Seals is back, and that gives Mike Gundy another weapon.
That gives Dax Garmin another weapon. Right now we're watching Dax Garmin at his best, and he's being patient, and he's just taking exactly what this defense is allowing to be given. This is smart football by Dax Garmin.
A pitch to the edge to Tyreek Hill. Close to another first down.
I love what they're doing right now, Shoes. This is really smart. Both safeties sitting back. All right, we're going to run at it. You're going to drop a guy down. All right, we're going to throw out there. Oh, you're going to overload one side. We're coming back to the other side. All they're doing is trying to create a play where the numbers favor them, and that's very well done by Mike Gundy's staff.
Another throw to the edge, this time a stumble by Seals. It will be second down and 10. And do you think that Dax Garmin, from a play calling standpoint, from a check with me standpoint, is going to be able to exhibit that kind of patience all night based on what we saw on film of his progress this season?
No, he hasn't shown it, and that's why we've said it's his consistency that will determine the team's consistency. This whole offense is on the shoulders of Dax Garmin. So far, so good. Blitz off the edge.
It's picked up. Garmin takes a shot at the end zone. Drops it in, and it's broken up. Intended for Washington. There's a flag on the play in the offensive backfield. Randall Evans, the nickel corner. Excellent coverage, step for step with Washington. We'll have to check the penalty, and it will go against the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's Garmin's first mistake. He had it. He had a one-on-one. He had leverage on the defender, and he threw it towards the defender. You've got to throw it to the middle of the field, and he had 6.
Holding, number 50, offense. The penalty is declined. It's third down.
So an interesting decision as Bill Snyder takes the down rather than the yardage and makes it third down and 10 rather than second down and 20. Blitz shown off the edge, and here they come again. Garmin in trouble, and the pressure gets there. Down he goes. That was well timed up by Kansas State. Garmin either didn't recognize it quickly enough or didn't have time to react and check out.
And I think it's a combination of the both. He's not the fleetest of foot, and this is all new for him. And when he's struggled, it's been when teams have brought pressure, and you're going to see the pressure come back inside and here. So they're bringing 3 extra players. So that's a seven-man blitz against a 5-man protection, and you lose in numbers.
And how about this call by Mike Gundy? Leaves the offense out there in that gray area to go for it on 4th and 10.
See if they pick it up.
K-State shows blitz again. Play clock at 2.
Get to the top side. It's there.
Only a 4-man rush. Garmin throws an interception.
It's on him. Completely on him, Shoes.
Dante Barnett picks it off. It doesn't matter. He knocks it down. It's a 4th down stop nonetheless.
Yeah. He needed to go to the top side or the left side. There were 3 receivers. If they were going to do anything, it's going to come from back here. Now, understand that it's 3rd and 11, and that's fine. This is here right away, but As the receiver comes open, the ball needed to be thrown there because the safety's sitting inside. Don't let him come all the way across. You throw it right into the defender. He sees it now. Throw it now. He waited a little too long.
So Kansas State gets the 4th down stop, and this is the first time on the field for Jake Waters and Kansas State's offense. And he'll throw on 1st down, and he wants a deep ball for Curry Sexton. And it's broken up. A flag out. It happened right in front of Mike Gundy. He can't believe it. Now an officials conference as Mike Gundy wants to back his sideline up, so he's the lone voice of opposition heard. Trey Flowers, the redshirt freshman strong safety, was there in coverage.
There is no foul for defensive pass
That's
interference.
very good officiating.
At the same time, the ball arrived. It's 2nd down.
That was a great example of how the game should be officiated. Okay, there's the ball. You look when he looks, you reach when he reaches, and now they all see it. Then they had their caucus, they had the discussion, and it's a no foul, a good call.
Now, a moment ago, we saw Dax Garman throw the interception, albeit on 4th down. That's something Jake Waters hasn't done in 4+ games. He's gone 147 touches now without a turnover, going back to the 4th quarter of the Auburn game. 2nd down and 10. Long throw to the sideline. Doing the toe tap for a 1st down is Curry Sexton.
Curry Sexton, of course, had that big block on the touchdown return from Burns. And they like to use their starters in special teams role. And Sexton's one of those guys who's just a good football player. And you watch the film of that kid, and he has a great sense of the game, always knows where he's supposed to be.
Previous play ruling of a completed pass is under further review.
Looked like a clean catch, but they'll make sure.
Just for the record, that's a long throw. They went 3-on-2, and they were going to give that long throw from hash mark to the sideline up. And they took it. Let's see if he has control and then a foot down inside. There's the control. And then, yeah, that's a catch.
It's about as clean as it gets.
Yeah.
So we don't expect that this review will take too long. That's good in the NFL.
One thing that you notice whenever you watch Kansas State, as long as Coach Bill Snyder has been here, they do not beat themselves. It's a team that forces you to be patient, forces you to play all game long without making mistakes.
The ruling on the field is confirmed. Completed pass.
So Curry Sexton does indeed pick up 11 yards in the 1st down. And let's take a look at the impact players offensively.
I'm looking forward to this tonight.
Kansas State brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
Oh, sorry, Shoes. Tyler Lockett and Kevin Peterson. Kevin Peterson's an outstanding corner. Tyler Lockett's looking to break every receiving record here at Kansas State held by his father. And Tyler Lockett is a big play waiting to happen, and Kevin Peterson is up for the challenge.
Kevin Peterson last week locked up Kevin White of West Virginia. Held him to 3 catches for 27 yards. And an equally big challenge tonight with Lockett. Waters steps up in the pocket, takes a hit, and is still able to spin forward for about 2 yards. And our first chance to head back to the studio and say hi to Chris Cotter. Well, Chris, we're tied at 7. Oklahoma State and Kansas State midway through the 1st quarter here in Manhattan. Low snap scooped up by Waters. Long throw. Fighting for the football and making the catch is Tyler Lockett. Thrown down. Crowd looking for a call. Ramon Richards was there in coverage, about 2 yards shy of the 1st down. And Quint's down there as well. Quint getting a look at Jake Waters. He's probably not 100% healthy right now. How does he look from field level?
That last throw had some zip on it, and it was a tight spiral. I watched him in warm-ups. He seems pretty good. You know, he injured that shoulder 2 weeks ago against Oklahoma. Right shoulder, the AC joint. And I think the biggest focus for Oklahoma State is just trying to tackle him. He only carried the ball 7 times last week, and it's kind of clear that Kansas State's trying to limit his tackles.
They get the snap off on 3rd down, and it is a conversion. Another catch made by Curry Sexton. So a strong throw outside the numbers again by Waters in front of Jordan Stearns for Oklahoma State.
This is maybe, for Bill Snyder, when you watch him, you say, no coach in all of college football does more with less than that man right there. Bill Snyder, he's a phenomenal coach. He sticks to exactly what he knows he can do and what his players can do. He's probably the best evaluator of what his guys can do, and he asks them to do that, and he's highly successful.
Design quarterback run for Waters, and he finds some room. Dodging tacklers, close to a 1st down. Well, when Kansas State put together their roster, just say when they went into the Auburn game, for instance, they had 58 current or former walk-ons, and 7 of which had become regular starters. Jake Waters, arguably, as a scholarship player, the most important to this offense, but 2 of his most important offensive linemen are walk-ons.
He's figured it out, and he figured it out a long time ago.
Waters runs again, plenty of room. Another 1st down and more. To the 20-yard line before he steps out.
Well, to answer Quinn's question about where he is physically, there's your answer. And now, not only Waters is going to think he's fine, but the coaching staff thinks he's fine. You don't put him in those situations unless you've seen that he's able to handle it physically. And so they're using his feet, and it's an element that really opens this offense.
First and 10 K-State from the Cowboy 21.
Play clock at 2. Down to 1, and they just get the snap off. Waters with a pump fake. Thought about the end zone. Looks for the back of the end zone instead. Dragging the feet, but out of bounds was Deontay Burton. Just that close to a go-ahead score for K-State.
But more than that, all kinds of time to be able to survey the field. He was able to look to the right side and then to the back of the end zone, because that offensive line, void of any superstar players, just a fantastic unit. And the net result was this, probably 8 inches away from having 6.
They're going to review it. They're going to see if the very tip of the right toe dragged for Deontay Burton, which would be a touchdown. He had control of the football. Just a question of whether or not he had the ball in his possession and was able to just drag that right foot.
So lost in all this is the Big 12's top pass rusher in terms of getting sacks is over there in Ogbu for Oklahoma State. There's the catch, and it looks like his left foot was on the white already. See, it looks like the left foot comes down and hits the white right there.
It was ruled an incompletion on the field, so it's hard to imagine that what we just saw would overturn the call on the
There
field.
After further review, field stands, incomplete pass.
Good call. But Ogbe, hey, he's got to do something if they're going to do anything with a 4-man rush. He's leading the conference in sacks with 8. And in this series, no one has gotten anywhere near quarterback.
He's number 3 for defensive linemen in the country in sacks and tackles for loss, so he can be an impact player. But there are times where it looks like his effort level doesn't necessarily match those statistics. 5-man rush. Waters well protected, but the ball batted down at the line. Might have been James Castleman. Agba was in the middle with a hand up as well. And those are some big bodies in there for the Pokes. 3rd down and 10 just outside the red zone.
There's Ogba. He's just a sophomore. Number 38's got nice long arms. When he gets a great first 2 steps, he's dangerous.
Might be a free play. And why not take a shot at the end zone? And another flag comes out. It looked as if at the snap, Oklahoma State was in the neutral zone. And if that's the case, Waters threw it up in the end zone knowing he had a free play. And a flag came out maybe for pass interference as well. Kevin Peterson trying to stay with Tyler Lockett.
Looked like Peterson was on top. Had position. Let's see what they do.
There were 2 fouls during the play, offside, number 95 defense. That penalty is declined.
Whoops.
Pass interference, number 1 defense. First down.
It's Peterson on Lockett, what we wanted to see. Now he's playing off coverage. So he has to establish his position, which, okay, he pushes him. He was in great shape. All he had to do was play the ball. He didn't have to touch him.
Smart play by Waters. Knew he had a free play with Levaney in the neutral zone. So now it's 1st and goal for Kansas State at the 6. They line up in the Wildcat. Direct snap coming to Charles Jones. Jones finds room. Touchdown, Wildcats. Tenth rushing touchdown for Charles Jones. And 8 of his 10 touchdowns have come from the Wildcat formation.
Patience by Jones and impatience by the defense. Ogba jumps down inside when he needs to maintain leverage on the outside and squeeze it. Instead, he crosses his face and comes over and opens the running lane.
So Kansas State with a special teams touchdown and now a 10-play, 73-yard touchdown drive. Nice job by Charles Jones to scoop up the snap and walk in for the score. Bob Wischusen, Matt Millen, Quinn Kesnick here in Manhattan. And Matt, with TCU, with Baylor, with West Virginia still on K-State's schedule, even if they win tonight against Oklahoma State, they still have a gauntlet between themselves and maybe a spot in the Final Four.
Yeah, and they're starting to play their best football.
Let's go back to the touchdown and see why it was so easy for Charles Jones.
Yeah, well, it all comes down to 2 things. One is you have to understand gap responsibility. Tautau's on the inside, he has the guard. Right here, this backer has to come down and attack and maintain. And on the outside, Ogba has to take that tight end, force him inside, and hold the outside. And he doesn't do that. When the ball's dropped, he'll jump right there. See how he jumped down inside, right to the inside? That allows him to get to the edge. And just that little lack of patience, that lack of discipline gives up a score.
Dax Garman showing patience and picks up about 10 yards and a first down to David Glidden, who's brought down right at the 35-yard line. And so far, Dax Garman, other than being stopped on downs on the last possession for Oklahoma State, they've moved the ball, and he has taken what has been offered by the K-State defense.
And that's going to have to be from play to play. He's going to have to fight that urge to take a shot, because they're going to give him things, and so you just take it. Here it is again. Safety sitting deep. Just run at this.
That's just what they'll do. Not much room there in the middle for Tyreek Hill. Jonathan Truman, leading tackler for Kansas State, made the stop. And Mike Gundy, 8 straight bowls, 4 wins in bowl games in 10 years at Oklahoma State. He was the 2010 Big 12 Coach of the Year, the 2011 Bear Bryant National Coach of the Year when the Pokes won their first Big 12 title. But this has been an offensive struggle unlike we've ever seen, really, in Stillwater under Mike Gundy. With a backup quarterback and injuries, but there's youth that shows promise. And Tyreek Hill is a great example of that youth showing promise. As he goes up the middle for about 7, and he is now down and hurt.
Rennie Childs is just back from injury. We talked about him earlier, but he's a different style. But this takes away their explosiveness with Hill.
It looked like on the tackle, Valentino Coleman rolled up on the ankles of Tyreek Hill. His head bounced off the turf pretty hard as well. And it looks like they're taking a look at the lower leg of Hill. But he's a track star, so he needs every bit of the speed he has. He's really a great story. I mean, a 5-star recruit that went the community college route and then got a look at the recently opened $10 million track and field facility at Oklahoma State and said, you know what, this place is for me. And he not only enrolls in January, but it didn't take him long to make an impact in track and field, because by February he was the Big 12 indoor champion in the 200 meters. So that is a speed merchant right now that at least is able to walk off the field. We'll see if he can get back in the game.
And here's the distinction that has to be made. He's a football player who also runs track. He's not a track guy who happens to play football. There's a big difference. And the difference is from the neck up. Most track guys have a track attitude and they're void of toughness. This kid, he's got it.
You can already see he's got a football attitude as he wants to stand right next to Mike Gundy and get himself back in the game. Big play though, 3rd down and 3. Rennie Childs takes the place of Hill in the backfield next to Garmin. 4-man rush. Garmin runs out of time and goes down. Travis Britz gets the sack and the 3rd down stop for Kansas State.
They still kept that 2-shell, but they covered every receiver. There was nowhere for Garmin to be able to see. So you could see they're rushing 4. The 5th guy, Trubin, comes. That's because he has coverage on the back. But down the field, every guy, the 4 receivers, blanketed. Nowhere to go. The result's a sack.
Kip Smith wants to keep it away from Tyler Lockett if he can. First punt of the game for either team as Smith has a problem handling the snap, eventually gets it away, and it takes a pretty fortunate Oklahoma State bounce forward, out of bounds at the Kansas State 31-yard line. If there was any kind of a punt block on that time for Kansas State, they would have gotten home as Kip Smith fumbled the snap.
Every time you watch Kansas State, you just can't help but be impressed with how they go about their business. They're never too high, they're never too low, they're always even keeled. They do exactly what they're coached to do. They're fundamentally sound. They don't beat themselves. They are a pleasure to watch, and they're a reflection of their coach.
Four-man rush on 1st down. Waters again well protected. Now flips it out in the right flat. Wide open is the outlet man, the tight end, Zach Trujillo. And he's got a 1st down as Jake Waters did a good job of maintaining his composure as the pressure started to close in.
Heady play by Waters. Now I want you to, this is, you know, there's some things in a quarterback it's really hard to measure. You don't really see it till it shows up. And that's it right there. And that's your ability to have poise. Poise under pressure. And when you exhibit that takes you a long way. And Waters got it.
He hasn't committed a turnover since the 4th quarter of the Auburn game, and that, of course, is the only loss for Kansas State this year. On the slant, climbing the ladder, Lockett for 8 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 2 and plus territory for Kansas State.
Shoes, how great a kid was Lockett yesterday. I mean, that kid, you want to say, that's the kind of guy you want to be your son-in-law. That's the kind of guy you wish the best for. That kid's got it. He's just such a fantastic person and a tremendous football player.
A 3-time All-American, and what a well-rounded football player as well. He's a more dangerous return man than he is a wide receiver.
He's an even better person.
Bobbing and weaving his way for a 1st down is Charles Jones. Great mixture of play calling for Kansas State. They're getting it done through the air and on the ground. There's 8 more for Jones.
Yeah, there.
If I were a Kansas State fan, I would be terrified that that guy at some point might think about hanging it up. He is 75 years old. He's about 25 years old in mind and spirit, but he can't do this forever. And the only sample size the Kansas State fans have of success is when he's been their coach.
He is a terrific coach. I mean, he gets it from top to bottom.
Kansas State making it look awfully easy, picking up 7 more on the handoff to Charles Jones. Ramon Richards made the stop, and that takes us to the end of the first quarter. Bill Snyder's Wildcats on top by a touchdown. We'll return to Manhattan, Kansas following these messages and a word from our local ABC stations. You're watching ESPN Saturday Night Football on ABC. Great first quarter for Kansas State and their offensive line especially, as Bill Snyder's team has a 14-7 lead over Oklahoma State. We met yesterday with B.J. Finney, 2-time first-team All-Big 12 center, a former walk-on, making his 47th straight start tonight. Boy, he's the epitome of a Bill Snyder football player as well. As we open the second quarter with Kansas State in business, 2nd down and 4. Waters, long throw to the edge. Sexton there to bail him out and steps out of bounds with a first down. But Matt, talking to B.J. Finney, again, a former walk-on. So the diamond in the rough found by Bill Snyder. His only Division I offer out of high school was to Ohio University, not Ohio State, Ohio U. They told him they ran out of scholarships. So he turned down some smaller schools to walk on at Kansas State, even though his mom told him, BJ, you've got 1 year. That's all we can pay for. And Bill Snyder comes through with a scholarship because he believed in his ability. He's become a great player.
And he'll have his opportunity to play on Sundays. He's got that kind of skill. But more importantly, this is just a good, tough, smart player and the leader of that offensive line.
And there goes Jake Waters. As Oklahoma State loses track of the quarterback on the scramble again. He's out of bounds at the 21. That's a gain of 6 more.
So it's not only B.J. Finney in there. See, the one thing about Finney that I love absolutely, and every time I'm watching tape, I'm like, that kid, I know that kid wrestled.
He gets it.
Yeah, he does get it, and he wrestled, and he plays inside. In fact, he was a heck of a high school wrestler. And his right guard right next to him, 68 Luke Hayes, was also an outstanding high school wrestler. Anytime you have an opportunity to get those kids, I would take them.
It'll be 3rd down and about 1 as Jones goes up the middle. Well, the entire offensive line, for the most part, for Kansas State is kind of the island of misfit toys. You know, you get the walk-on in the center, B.J. Finney. Matt Klein-Sorge, the right tackle, is a former walk-on. The right guard, Luke Hayes, was a left tackle in junior college, comes to Kansas State. Now he's playing right guard. The left tackle was a 2nd-team All-Big 12 guard last year, Cody Whitehair. They just mix and match and find a way to get the job done.
That's a credit to Bill Snyder. He takes what you can do and he puts it into play.
And Waters with the quarterback sneak. Looks like he's got the first down.
And so here's the key. Okay, so there are a lot of guys out there who have individual talents. But what sets Bill Snyder apart is he's able to put them together and they create some chemistry. And they create a unit that plays well together. That is really difficult to do, and that man has unlocked the secret of that for year after year after year.
Big spot for the Oklahoma State defense now to try to get a stop in the red zone, as Kansas State has made it look awfully easy, marching right down the field again. Waters, again well protected, floats one in the end zone. It's caught along the chalk by Burton, but out of bounds again. Deontay Burton has come that close to catching 2 touchdowns here in the first half, but he's been out of bounds on both as Richards was there.
Well, Richards does a nice job of using the sideline to his advantage. Use it as an extra defender. You're going to force that thing. Once that foot steps on the out of bounds, it's no good. So you shrink the field by forcing the receiver close to the sideline.
Ramon Richards, only a true freshman, forced to play with Ashton Lampkin out again tonight, still nursing an ankle injury. He's been out since Oklahoma State played Texas Tech. Looking at the left pylon for Sexton. It is caught. That's a touchdown. Curry Sexton able to haul it in from Jake Waters to stretch the Kansas State lead.
That's a heck of a throw by Waters. I want to see if he had control all the way through, because that's a heck of a catch, the way he had to adjust to that thing. Here's Sexton. There's the throw. Let's see what happens. Faces it. Bobble, bobble. I can't see from there. But apparently the field judge could. Bobble, bobble. There it is. That's a great call. Good job. Good job officiating here on these edges all night. And a great catch by Sexton.
The replay booth, as we speak, is confirming that it was a touchdown to Curry Sexton. And they're holding things up before the point after attempt. And now they may review.
The ruling of a touchdown is under further review.
Trey Flowers gives up the outside, but clearly he had control. He had a foot in, and he can maintain control all the way through the catch. There's the catch. There's the bobble. There's the control.
And his knee's down as well.
Yeah, so that's good.
Curry Sexton only grew up about 45 minutes away from Manhattan. He used to come to Kansas State games as a kid and sit in section 14. Hence the uniform number that he wears. He was a brilliant high school student, turned down an appointment to Harvard because he wanted to not only play football at Kansas State, but he wanted to play for Bill Snyder.
After further review, the ruling on a touchdown.
And it is a touchdown, and there is section 14. That's dead behind the end zone that Curry Sexton just caught a touchdown in. So he used to sit in that section, and now he's catching touchdowns in front of the fans that used to sit in his old seat.
Thank goodness he didn't sit in section 234. He would have had no shot.
Number 16, Matthew McCray with the K-State extra point attempt.
McCrane with another point after. Kansas State with 2 10-play touchdown drives, and they've got a 21-7 lead. Pictures that both schools are kind enough to shoot for us during the week as we show just a little snippet of the prep work that brings us to kickoff tonight between Kansas State and Oklahoma State, and the number 9 team in the college football playoff rankings. The Wildcats with 3 unanswered touchdowns after Oklahoma State marched right down the field to start the game tonight with an easy 8-play scoring drive. It's been 21 unanswered for Kansas State since, and now taking a knee at about the 11-yard line on a short kick is Juwan Seals. Good news for Oklahoma State. Tyreek Hill is back in the game. But bad news for the Cowboys. They start at their own 11-yard line. Hill right into the heart of the K-State defensive front on first down, picks up about 1.5 yards. Randall Evans was there to help bring him down.
Well, you talk about the middle. That's Travis Britch, number 95. Britch is a guy who's a powerful guy. He sits down inside. He's got very good plays with good leverage. He's got good power, and he has very good violence in his hands. I like to watch him play.
Strong throw by Garmin, and a sliding catch by Aitman at the 20-yard line, 1 yard shy of the first down. They'll actually mark the ball just across the 20, so it's 3rd down and a half-yard for Oklahoma State. And they need this first down badly. Down by 14. And they'll get the first down on the juke out on the edge by Tyreek Hill. That showed a little LaShawn McCoy open field movement.
Yeah, this kid's got it. This kid's got some skills. He's got great speed. He just has to develop a little bit more runner's patience and understand that getting to the edge is not the answer all the time.
A toss to the edge. Reversing field is Hill. Gets a block. Tyreek Hill kicks it into another gear and gets the 45-yard line before he's finally brought down by Dante Barnett. That showed some instincts as a runner as he picks up 21.
Very good. Now you're going to watch just as there's nowhere to go, so reverse the direction. Now you can use your speed. There's no one on the field who can run with him, so he takes advantage of it as soon as he sees he has nowhere to go.
And he came up limping again just a bit, so he goes out, and Rennie Childs is back in a tailback. But the training staff not even looking at Tyreek Hill. Under pressure, down goes Dax Garman. It's another sack for Travis Britz.
Guess who? Britz is tough. Britz I like to watch inside. He's just the model of consistency. He just doesn't give up. He starts inside on the center. Starts to get a little help from the outside. You can see him. He's going to be right here. He's going to start working on the edge. You always get to an edge. Never take a full man. He works off both edges and gets a sack.
Garman, he'll try to escape. Lowers his shoulder and gets to about the 42-yard line, but it will be 3rd down and 12. Jonathan Truman brought him down.
Ryan Mueller had the edge. Looked like he got held off the edge. Ryan Mueller, number 44, is pure effort. He's the guy who this whole defense is kind of built the same way, but Mueller kind of exemplifies exactly what they are. High effort, great motor, never quits, gives you everything he has on every play. Fun to watch.
3rd down and a long 12, close to 13. Lob down the sideline, nothing there. Marcel Aitman was walled off by Denzel McDaniel, and the sack ends up really hurting Oklahoma State. They can't rebound from that, and as a result, they have to kick it away. One negative play makes a big difference when you've got an inexperienced quarterback and a team that right now doesn't have a lot of offensive rhythm going.
And that offensive line is struggling, and that's really the whole key. They're not getting much movement, and Kansas State's just saying, look, we're going to keep our safeties back. We don't think you can run on us with 5 men in the box.
Lockett from the 16 gets a block, stays on his feet, down the sideline, stays in bounds with a flag down.
Tyler Lockett is really fun to watch. At the least, he'll light up the NFL as a returner.
He's number 2 in America right now in punt return average coming into tonight. This one might go backwards.
During the return, holding, number 15, receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. 1st down, timeout.
So field position hurt a bit for K-State, but they've got the ball and a 2-touchdown lead when we come back to Manhattan. We showed you the rodeo club they have at Kansas State earlier. They have a parachute club as well, where crazy students jump out of perfectly good airplanes and land on the only non-military collegiate club's drop zone that's got its own plane. If you call up mom and dad and say, I've just picked up a new extracurricular activity. The chess club? No. I'm jumping out of planes. 1st and 10 for K-State. Inside their own 20-yard line. Nice move. DeMarcus Robinson in a small window picked up 4. Trey Flowers came up and missed the tackle at the line of scrimmage. But this seems like a vital segment of the game for Oklahoma State, Matt, having given up 21 points after taking the 7-0 lead. They've got field position on their side. Can their defense get a stop?
They have to. This is a pivotal series right here. They have to be able to get a stop, and they have to get more points at their back, because right now they've lost any kind of momentum that's in this building is clearly on the side of Kansas State.
Waters well protected again. Long throw. Coming back to try and help out the quarterback is Lockett, but couldn't scoop it up, and an important third down is next after we check in with Chris Cotter. All right, Chris, thanks. Third down and a long 5. Kansas State already 2 for 2 on third down. Again, only a 4-man rush. Waters. Pocket starting to collapse. And he tried to squeeze it through traffic, and it's incomplete. And that's the first third down stop for Oklahoma State, and a big one. 3 and out for the Wildcats.
And still a lot of time to throw. Howtow finally ends up getting there. They're only rushing 4. They bring it inside Howtow 98 right here. You're going to see him, but look at how much time he had to be able to find an open receiver. He was trying to find somebody deep enough. He had him underneath, but it wouldn't have gotten the first down.
Nick Walsh, his first punt. This one into the wind. That's a pretty good kick. And on the dead run, stepping out of bounds at about the 37-yard line is Tyreek Hill. Good field position for Oklahoma State when we come back after they get a stop. Well, now it's back on Dax Garman. Good field position at the 37-yard line. Can the Cowboys do something with it? Right up the middle, Rennie Childs. Will Geary brought him down, but not before he picked up about 5 yards out to the 42.
Still going back to what we said last series, they had to get the stop, and then they did. And now they have to get points here, Shoes. They've got to be able to get some kind of momentum back on them. They're going to throw right here.
An 8-man box. Look at all those purple jerseys in the tackle box, and the ball stuck to the hand of Dax Garman.
Actually, that was good by Garman.
Quarterback's passing on forward before he lost possession. Incomplete pass.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he did there, but had he thrown that ball, that looked like it could have been a pick. It looked like the corner jumped that thing. I think he held on to it, because you could see on the outside you had Morgan Burns, and he was drawing a bead on that ball.
It's like a check swing that got called as a strike.
Back out of play, the count goes to 3 and 2.
Well, now it gets to 3rd and 5. So he avoids the turnover, but it is 3rd down, and the play clock winding down. And it might have been a timeout called by Mike Gundy on the sideline for Oklahoma State. It was. It's a 2-touchdown lead. And Q, you were only a few feet away from that offensive huddle with Mike Gundy while we were during the timeout.
I don't sense any confidence down here. Remember their first drive, 8 plays, 84 yards and a touchdown? That's all disappeared. You have a quarterback right now who's fearing this rush. He's starting to make poor decisions, and a young offense without confidence.
Well, they need to react well here on 3rd and 5. Here comes the blitz. Garman delivers a strike. Oh, that'll build some confidence. A 3rd down conversion to the K-State 40-yard line. And it's James Washington, the true freshman, that comes up with the catch.
That's very well done, because Garman recognizes that he's getting pressure. And then they're running a double slant, and usually it's the second guy behind, and you got to be dead on, and Garman is right there, sets up this big first down.
That's a great sign for Oklahoma State. Play action. Garman looking for the home run ball. Wants Washington again, and it's incomplete.
Looks like I got a flag inside.
A flag back at the line.
Holding, number 58, offense. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Again, it's a negative play for Oklahoma State. The last several drives, they get some forward momentum going, they give up a sack. They get some forward momentum going, they commit a penalty. And now for a team that struggled to move the ball at times, it's 1st down and 20.
It's Koenig, number 58. You can see him right there. And he's just holding on for dear life. He got too high. And Will Geary, number 60, who's a squatty body and a powerful guy, got under him. And the result was the hold.
The ball's on the ground. Rennie Childs tried to cover up his own fumble and does, but that will be a loss of about 7 more. So 2 plays after you hit the first down on third to James Washington, you commit a penalty, and a fumble backs you up as well.
Well, this is what happens when you're just back in the lineup for the first time in a couple weeks. It's nothing there. Now it's 3rd and 30. And I don't know where you go in a playbook for 3rd and 30.
Draw play to Tyreek Hill. And he'll lose about 2 yards. And now it is 3rd and 30. DeCorey Johnson back in the lineup for the first time after missing the Texas game. He's been fighting ankle injuries all season, so he's a welcome addition to the K-State defense.
You know, just watching this Kansas State, this Oklahoma State offensive line is not very good. And when you have a problem up front, it compounds everything else, including the run game and the quarterback play.
Not a bad run by Tyreek Hill. The only problem was he started in Manhattan, had to get to Stillwater to pick up the first down. So it's going to be a punt for Oklahoma State as Tyler Lockett drops back deep to receive the punt. Quint?
He thinks he can break a return. Studying hang time, Oklahoma State's punter, 3.5 seconds. He thinks he's going to have enough real estate to get ahead of steam. Very confident yesterday in our meetings was Tyler Lockett.
Well, Kip Smith is #1 in the Big 12 and #9 in America in net punting average. And he will try and angle an end-over-end kick away from Lockett, but it bounces into the end zone.
A tremendous arm, sees the whole field, smart. He's it.
How about that duel on Monday night, or on Sunday night with Ben Roethlisberger? Is that some quarterbacking between those two? They both looked unstoppable at times. Jake Waters buying time in the pocket. And that's complete right at the first down marker to Tyler Lockett. Let's go back down to Q.
It was interesting, the Oklahoma State defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer talking to his guys about the tempo of this ball game. He said they're not snapping the ball until about 10 or less to go in the play clock. And that kind of agrees with what Coach Snyder told us on Friday about time of possession. In this era of teams trying to get a lot of plays and go fast, this Kansas State team is actually trying to play slow.
There's a lot of lookover done by both offenses, which will take you down deep in the play clock. And this time they snap it with about 3. Lockett, little pop pass up the seam, incomplete. Now it's 3rd down and 1.5 yards. And Matt, I'm always wondering how aware front 7 players, especially pass rushers, are of the play clock. If they sense that it's down to 5, down to 2, down to 1, knowing that the ball's going to have to get snapped, wouldn't you get a better jump knowing the ball's going to be triggered?
Yeah, but more important than the clock, because that's really, you can't control that. What you can control and take lead from is the guy in front of you, and they have a better sense. And a lot of time it's the breathing of the offensive lineman that gives away the snap count. They'll hold their breath just a tad before it's ready to happen.
Waters on 3rd down. He has stood up. Jordan Stearns with a great read. He had 20 tackles last week against West Virginia, and he comes up to get a 3rd down stop here, and that's a big one for Oklahoma State. They'll get another crack with the ball before halftime.
That was a good hit. Stearns does a really nice job of fitting. Everybody has their gap of responsibility, and then the safety, they have to fit, which means you have to fill the hole as it presents itself inside out, from the inside from the center spot on out, and you just start with that angle, and he did a perfect job.
The punter goes down, and the ball takes a great hop, but may have hit an Oklahoma State Cowboy on that hop. There's a scramble for it. Who's got it? No flag came out, in spite of the fact that Nick Walsh, the punter, went down. And it looks like Oklahoma State may maintain possession of the football, although K-State thinks they may have recovered.
3 rules of the kicking game. Don't be offsides, don't rough the kicker, and don't let the ball hit the ground. You never let the ball hit the ground as a returner, regardless of where it is. That is one of the possibilities that can happen. A loose ball takes all kinds of goofy bounces. Sometimes it hits your own guy. You go up and get that ball.
A very important call coming here.
Rolling on the field, this ball was illegal by the kicking team at the 41-yard line. First down, Oklahoma State.
If the ball is touched first by the kicking team, then the receiving team can catch it, they can possess it, they can fumble it, they can do whatever.
That's right.
And that ball is going to go back to the receiving team no matter what the outcome. So if they say that ball hit a K-State player first, there's no chance that Oklahoma State can lose possession.
It hits right there. Who's that? I can't tell if it's 13 or 18.
And lost in all of this, Matt, is that's only a 30-yard punt. So unless replay decides to change this ruling, and they say that it is definitive that maybe it hit a K-State player, or rather an Oklahoma State player first, it looks like they're going to go upstairs and take a look. If Oklahoma State does hold on to the football, they'll have great field position with 3:44 to go before halftime. But they will review. And this is a monumentally important call. This is either great field position for Oklahoma State or a giveaway, and K-State's got the ball.
They try to get out of the way. From that angle, I can't tell if it hit anybody. From that angle, it looks like K-State may have been the first one to touch it. From the end zone angle, it looks like this one here, it might have.
You can't tell.
You can't tell. So the ruling on the field will probably stand.
Very difficult to tell. It looked like the ball may have grazed the helmet.
But there it doesn't.
Or maybe the right leg.
From there, it looks like the right leg, but from that other end zone, not this side one, looks like it may touch the leg. Right there, possibly. But when you go to the end zone, you can't tell.
It's Ramon Richards that was closest to it for Oklahoma State. Did it hit him?
After further review, the ruling on the field stands.
That's a good call. He didn't confirm it. They went with what was on the field, and really, when you look at all the angles that we see, I don't know how you could overturn what was called on the field.
Nothing 100% definitive.
Correct.
So Oklahoma State begins the night with an 8-play, 84-yard touchdown drive. They made it look as easy as could be. They only have 100 yards on their last 25 plays, and they haven't scored since the opening possession. Big chance here, good field position before halftime.
Tyreek Hill is going to have to be the guy.
Garmin breaks a tackle. Great job to pick up any yardage on a play that could have easily gone for a loss. He ends up gaining 6. And coming up on the Capital One halftime report, John Saunders, Mac Brown, Danny Cannell standing by. Of course, we'll have a shakeup in the college football playoff rankings. We've got teams with huge impactful games going on tonight. TCU, of course, tested. How about the performance by the Gators in Jacksonville? Second down at 4. Tyreek Hill goes backwards with a flag down. He lost about 3. Ryan Mueller and Jonathan Truman, 2 former walk-ons, arguably the 2 best defensive players K-State has, made the stop, and it is holding against Oklahoma State.
Beating themselves. Mueller, I love that effort. Truman, they're the same guy.
Number 50, offense. 10-yard penalty. Replay, second down.
So this time, Bill Snyder takes the penalty rather than the loss of 3 on second down. So it'll be second down and about 14 rather than third down and somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 or 8. Five-man rush. Garmin, strong throw, but it goes right through the hands of James Washington. And now it's third down and 14.
Yeah, when they do bring pressure, they may bring an extra guy, but they're playing a zone behind it. So they're not really giving you a lot of man coverage per se. Occasionally they'll do it, but for the most part, he's making a throw into zones, which is what he's going to get right now.
Oklahoma State only 2 for 6 on third down so far here in the first half. And they are 97th in the country in third down conversion percentage this season. So it's been a struggle all year. And they'll run it on 3rd and 14. Tyreek Hill weaving his way for what he can get. But again, that's Mike Gundy playing field position with 2.5 minutes to go in the first half. Elijah Lee, the true freshman, filling in at linebacker, replacing Michael Moore, was lost for the season to injury. He made the stop.
Elijah Lee is just a freshman, and he's got some skills. He's got instinct. He has some things you can't teach. He's not very big. He needs to put some weight on, and he will over the next few years.
Kansas State, it's their first shot. 30-second timeout.
So Kansas State calls a timeout to try and preserve some time, and we'll be gone for 30 seconds. Oklahoma State took the 7-0 lead. Kansas State with 21 unanswered. They've got the 2-touchdown lead. They're about to get the ball back as well. As again, a negative play, a penalty, hurts Oklahoma State. Lockett inside the 10-yard line with Kip Smith to punt. Wobbly kick, returnable for Lockett. He gets outside and is lassoed down at about the 25-yard line. So back to work for Jake Waters. He doesn't get rattled, Matt Millen.
No, he's got great poise, and he's got great presence in the pocket. And he manages that pocket extremely well. Not very fast. I mean, I should say he's not the fastest, not the quickest guy, but he has presence. And he understands what's around him and what's not around him, and he knows how to find an open guy. And he's been the difference in this offense tonight.
This is a real danger zone as well for Oklahoma State, because Kansas State, with Jake Waters back on the field, has got the 2-touchdown lead. They've got all the time in the world. 2:06 and 2 timeouts, and they start the third quarter with the ball. So if Kansas State could string together a couple of possessions here, they might be able to put this game away. Oklahoma State's defense really needs to get a stop before halftime, and that's a good start. They corral Marcus Robinson. No gain on first down.
Well, that's a really nice play right there by Seth Jacobs. He comes clean. Nobody blocks him. He has to make the play, and he does. He sets up a 2nd and 10. If you come unblocked, you better make the play.
See if Oklahoma State calls a timeout if they get a negative play or a stop for no gain on 2nd down. Waters will throw. High over the middle, and it's intercepted. The linebacker, Ryan Simmons, sagging back in coverage, gets the pick. What a big play for Oklahoma State with a flag thrown in the offensive backfield.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 92, defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
An absolute killer for the Cowboys. Jimmy Bean roughs the passer, and that wipes away the interception. This a better look at it, Matt. Is he supposed to be able to pull up there?
First and 10, K-State from the 39-yard line.
I give up anymore with that. It's almost.
That's a tough call.
That's a tough call.
Jake Waters lets the ball go, and Jimmy Bean already has his shoulders lowered. That's a really tough call. So now Waters with new life. Long throw to the sideline. Can't find Glenn Gronkowski. It'll be 2nd down and 10, but that's a huge call.
Monster.
That was the first time that Jake Waters turned the ball over, potentially in nearly 5 games for Kansas State. And Oklahoma State just gets some momentum with a takeaway, and it gets wiped away on a personal foul that was right on the borderline. pump fake for Waters. He can run. Weaving his way to the sideline and ends up getting bumped out. Picks up about 3 with 44 seconds to go in the first half. And here's another look.
Here's what I want you to watch. Watch when he starts right there. See, he could have pulled back, it looks like, when you look at it there. But he had already started his tackling motion right here. 1, 2, they'd say because he took that probably third step, you'd want him pulled off of that thing. But is what it is. That's the rule. That's what gets called.
Third down. Only a 3-man rush. The screen set up. Demarcus Robinson nowhere to go. Good job by Oklahoma State to bottle him up. Force 4th down, and now Mike Gundy, I think, wants to call a timeout. So with 31 seconds to go in the half, Oklahoma State gets the clock stopped. It'll be 4th down.
Josh Furman's down. But Ryan Simmons made a very, very good play right there by not allowing him to get outside because there was a lot of green. And Simmons came up and forced it back inside and was able to stop the first. I want you to watch 52. Now he gets blocked, and that's okay because what he did was forced everything back inside. Had he not been able to do that, this play would not have been made. They would have gotten outside of him. He'd still be running and probably gotten the first.
With less than a minute to go, Oklahoma State has elected to take a timeout to avoid the 10-second runoff. It's their second charge timeout. 30 seconds in length. It's 4th down.
Well, they were calling timeout anyway to try and stop the clock, so we'll step aside for 30 seconds and return in a moment. Bob Wischusen, Matt Millen, Quinn Kesnick back in Manhattan, Kansas. The Wildcats set to punt it away. And Nick Walsh has that punt deflected. It will roll into Oklahoma State territory and eat up some clock. Very close for the Cowboys to getting a huge play on special teams. Looked like Sam Wren may have just deflected it, but it squeezed out about 22 yards of field position even after it was hit by Wren.
1, 2. He took his good old time. I think that's.
Was it Wren? Maybe Ramon Richards. Now check that Jordan Stearns, the safety, who might have gotten his fingertips on the ball. Let's head down to Quinn.
I think that was a situation where their staff was unhappy with how many steps the punter took.
Exactly.
Should have been catch, 1 step and gone.
Dax Garman still has 1 timeout, 20 seconds to try and get in the field goal range. He'll throw the deep ball. Trying to run under it is Washington. Check that, Tyreek Hill, and almost did. Hill had a step, but Garman couldn't put enough air under the ball for Tyreek Hill to run under it. It'll be 2nd down with 13 seconds to go.
Is he going to come behind us or not really? No, he just was.
Running play with Brenny Childs. That'll stop the clock on the 1st down with 8 seconds to go. Oklahoma State still with 1 timeout, so if they get set quickly and snap the ball, no, it looks like they'll call timeout here.
Timeout. Oklahoma State.
It's a gain of 13.
And final of the half. 30-second timeout.
And Matt, I would have thought trying to quickly snap the ball and hold on to your timeout would give you the full playbook at your disposal, and then maybe call the timeout to get your field goal unit out there. You surprised that Mike Gundy spent the time out there?
Yeah, I'm surprised. They could have tried to hurry to the line of scrimmage right there, take a snap, either kill it right there and get to 7 seconds or 6 seconds. That way you can make a throw to the middle of the field and use a timeout.
Give yourself up and call timeout if you want. Now you have to go to the sideline.
Exactly. So even though they're going to stop the clock for a 1st down, it's going to go right away. And if you get if you get 15, 20 yards.
Remember too, the new rule that was enacted last year.
Right.
If this play takes more than 5 seconds, if there's 2 seconds or less on the clock, even if it's stopped after the first down, you can't spike it. You'd have to just throw a Hail Mary. You only get 1 snap if the clock is stopped and there's 2 seconds or less on the clock.
Yeah, I don't like that rule.
So without a timeout, it does handcuff Oklahoma State here with 8 seconds to go. Garmin pretty much has to go to the sideline. 3 receivers to the near sideline. He's just going to throw it in the end zone.
He has to there.
And hope for the best. It's tipped around, and it is intercepted. It is intercepted. Almost snatched away. Marcel Aitman absolutely had a chance at the Hail Mary tip for a possible touchdown. And instead, Dylan Schellenberg comes up with the interception. How close was this to Oklahoma State coming up with 6? Boy, the last thing that you want if you're Kansas State is Dante Barnett to tip that ball up in the air. So Kansas State with a 21-7 lead at halftime, and the Wildcats start the third quarter with the football as well. We'll head to the studio and our Capital One halftime report following these messages. You're watching ESPN Saturday Night Football on ABC. Set for the start of the third quarter. 21-7, number 9 Kansas State over Oklahoma State. Bob Wischusen, Matt Millen, Quinn Kesnick with us here as well in Manhattan. The first half almost a microcosm of the season so far for both of these teams. Kansas State efficient, putting points on the board, and Oklahoma State moving the ball, showing flashes, but also shooting themselves in the foot at times.
They are who we thought they were. It's exactly what it looked like. And for Oklahoma State, it's been inconsistent in that they have the requisite skill. There are people out there who can make plays. But the bottom line is their offensive line has to play a better second half because they did not give their skill people a chance to be able to make those plays. And then defensively, they're void of a pass rush. However, on the other side, Kansas State has done everything we thought they'd be able to do, and they are consistent all the way through. Jake Waters has been the difference in this game. Jake Waters, healthy, has a great sense for the running game and when to run, has a great sense of understanding the pocket and when to take off and when to take a shot down the field and make all the underneath throws. He's been helped outside with guys making nice catches, but he's also been helped in the run game with that offensive line, who I think has done a fantastic job.
Oklahoma State outgained Kansas State in the first half, 213 yards to 142. But the turnovers, a stop on downs, that was one of the turnovers at the time. Throw in 4 penalties for 50 yards and 2 sacks. So that's 6 negative plays, and that's been too much for their offense to overcome. So it'll be Kansas State at the 25-yard line to start the second half with the football. And let's go down to the Oklahoma State bench and Quinn.
Mistakes, mistakes, mistakes. Mike Gundy just pointing to his team's inability to play 3 or 4 plays in a row without hurting themselves. You mentioned the holding calls, the personal foul, the roughing the passer. When they had converted the interception, he thought was a huge turning point in that first half. He blamed his kicker. He said it was a poor kickoff that led to Kansas State's kickoff return. It was a line drive, really underkicked. Encouraged, though, by the 100 yards rushing.
Well, they'll need more of that in the second half, but they'll also have to find a way to shut down Jake Waters. Waters on the move on first down, swings it wide to Sexton, and he steps out of bounds with a gain of close to 9 yards.
Shoes, if this defense is going to do better in the second half, it's going to have to start up front. This defensive line has got to be able to get pressure. They've got to be able to handle the run game without adding extra people in the mix. So those down 4, they've got to pick it up. In particular, this guy right here. Agba's got to play better. He's the leading pass rusher in the Big 12, and he needs to show up.
Waters with a pitch and catch to Deontay Burton, and he picks up the first down. About 7 more for Kansas State in front of Ramon Richards. That was going to be my question. At what point do you have to start adding some numbers if you're Oklahoma State to try to heat up Jake Waters? If you're not getting there with 4, when does a 5th and when does a 6th get added to the rush?
Well, he's got some problems. defensive coordinator, Glenn, I'm drawing a blank. Glenn Spencer knows he has some holes in the back end. And Ramon Richards, really, I mean, Ramon Richards, you have to help him. He's right down here. You can't ask him to just play tight man coverage all the time.
That was well done as Richards was able to hold the edge. Deontay Burton bumped out of bounds after a gain of 3.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on Richards. There are other holes in this defense, but the point is this: if you start taking people from the back end, particularly safeties, and adding them in the mix, and bringing them up and bringing guys down, then you expose yourself on the back end. And so the time to do that is as they get closer and you have a shorter field. That helps those other guys and helps your rush.
Play clock winding down to 5. Again, it's only a 4-man rush. And again, Waters well protected. A clean pocket, and he finds Sexton right at midfield. Came back to make the catch, so he's about a yard shy of the first down. It will be 3rd down and 1, but Waters has had a clean pocket to throw from for the most part all night.
Yeah, and he's got all kinds of time to survey the field. And the guy he likes to go to is Sexton. Sexton's one of those players that every successful team has. He's a guy who's dependable. He's a guy who understands how to come back to the ball, how to be consistent with the ball, and he makes big play after big play.
3rd down and 1, easily converted by Charles Jones. Curry Sexton came into tonight averaging 6.1 receptions per game. Good for 8th overall in the Big 12, and he's not a flashy player, just makes the solid play, and tonight right on his average already with 6 catches for close to 60 yards. He wants to coach. That's why he came to play for Bill Snyder.
He needs to play first because he's good at it.
Flag down. No immediate signal of a false start.
False start.
There it is.
Number 77. 5-yard penalty. First down.
It's one of the rare mistakes you'll get out of a Bill Snyder coach team. They don't beat themselves.
Only the 2nd Kansas State penalty. They'll run it and pick up plenty with Charles Jones. They got about half the yardage needed for a first down on that play. Jordan Stearns came up to make the stop, but 1st and 15 becomes 2nd down and manageable, 2nd and about 6.
Jones runs hard. When he sees it, he hits it. And so does Stearns. I like that's a good play by Stearns. As a safety, this is called the lane. You have to run that lane, and it's just you and the runner. It's good defense.
He's the Cowboys' leading tackler. And if your free safety is your leading tackler, that doesn't necessarily bode well for how your defense is playing. Again, it's Charles Jones. And it looks like he's got the first down.
And that was all Charles Jones. He went through a couple tackles. That's tough running. You're going to watch this. There's a couple of guys who have an opportunity. There's one, he bounces off it. There's 2, keeps going, and into the 3rd. That's just good, tough running by Jones.
Ryan Simmons, the Mike linebacker, missed the first tackle for Oklahoma State in the hole there. And he did not have a very good game last week. Overran a lot of plays we saw on tape against West Virginia.
Here comes the blitz.
Waters on the slant, beats the blitz. Spinning free is Lockett. Tyler Lockett gives Kansas State a first down in the red zone.
So you ask the question, what happens when you add people to the mix? Well, you're going to get your people in the mix. Now here's the matchup on the outside that I was looking forward to. And Lockett wins. And it's a matter of just shaking him at the top of his route and coming back underneath. Peterson's a good cover corner.
Waters, jump ball in the end zone for Lockett. He's got it for the touchdown.
No pressure. And then the separation at the end, maybe a little push by Lockett. But excellent separation.
How about the trust by Jake Waters? As he threw Lockett open. That was pretty good coverage by Richards. But he trusted Tyler Lockett would make a play. And for the 15th time since the start of last season, Jake Waters throws a touchdown pass to Tyler Lockett. Want to know the impact Bill Snyder has had here at Kansas State? In the 23 seasons as head coach, he has led the Wildcats to 15 bowl games. How many bowl games did Kansas State participate in during the 93 seasons prior to the arrival of Bill Snyder? We'll have that answer coming up.
Fantastic coach.
So plenty of time for the Cowboys. But now they're in a 3-touchdown hole. Jawan Seals can't change field position. And let's go back to the touchdown.
And you can't change the result of the touchdown. And here's the matchup down here. So they're going to bring pressure over here. They're going to keep one safety, okay? But they're going to essentially leave Richards man-to-man out there. So your eyes are on his eyes. Watch right there. See that little push? That's the difference in the play. Richards is going to feel it right here. He looks when the receiver looks. The push gave the separation, and the throw was right where it had to be, and it's 6 points for Lockett.
So the continuing education of a true freshman cover corner. And now Dax Garman with a handoff. Childs goes up the middle. Close to the 20-yard line. Elijah Lee made the stop. And of course, Tyler Lockett is trying to live up to quite a family name because his dad, Kevin, played for Bill Snyder in the mid-90s. And Kevin Lockett is the all-time leading receiver, yards and receptions in Kansas State history. Well, Jordy Nelson has just been bypassed in terms of yards by Tyler Lockett. So before this season is over, he's trying to track down Dad in the record books.
Sorry, Dad. He's going to get you.
Garman finds David Glidden for a first down. You want to talk about a guy that grew up as a Wildcat? Well, here he is with his dad growing up. There was K-State purple everywhere in their house, and why not?
Well, his dad and mom did a fantastic job of raising Tyler Lockett. And I couldn't say enough good things about what kind of great person that kid is.
Garman looking at the pass rush, and he collapses again back to the 21-yard line. Third sack for Kansas State. Jordan Willis, he gets in the act. That's his second sack this season.
Yeah, here's the difference. Okay, you're going to get the rush, and they're going to have time. The difference is the coverage on the outside. So you're going to get there was enough time to be able to throw that thing. Here's where he was looking up top. And here's why that sack occurred. There's nowhere to go with this ball. It's just not there.
Right up the middle goes Rennie Childs for maybe a couple of yards. It'll be 3rd down and 16. And other than the first drive of the game, Matt, when Oklahoma State went right down on the field, I think they've had a negative play on every other possession they've had. Either a sack, a penalty, something has pushed them in the wrong direction. And most often, it's the play that follows something positive. You know, right after Dax Garman, a nice throw to David Glidden for a first down. Boom, you get the sack.
Well, I can't say enough of what K-State's defensive line's been doing. Mueller up there, and Pritz inside, and Coleman, and Gary, and Willis on the outside. They've been able to get there like with 4 guys.
Garman for the home run down the sideline, incomplete. He wanted James Washington. And again, the negative play too much for the Cowboys to overcome. They have to punt.
Washington has speed. They have to use other ways of using his speed. It's not just a 9 route down the field. Use it other ways. Start running comebacks. See, these corners know the kid can run, and so they're playing him for a down the field play. Do comebacks, run him across the field, a couple other things.
Returnable kick for Lockett. Reverses field. And gets taken down at the 34-yard line. So Kansas State with 28 unanswered points and the ball when we come back. The College of Veterinary Medicine here at Kansas State serves as the clinical training ground for fourth-year veterinary students preparing for private practice or advanced training and board certification. The center treats nearly 35,000 animals every year from all over the Midwest. Back to work for Jake Waters as Oklahoma State has gotten nothing going offensively since the opening drive of the game. Can their defense make a big play now? Ryan Simmons knifes through and drops to Marcus Robinson for a loss of 2.5. It'll be second down and long. And this is a game, Matt, starting to feel like if Oklahoma State doesn't get a takeaway on defense, a big momentum changer, they just don't have the ammunition to come back.
Yeah, because they've been having all those mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. Like you mentioned, every time they make a play, they seemingly punch themselves in the head the next play around.
Waters in trouble, and he goes down. There's Emmanuel Ogbah making an impression for the first time tonight.
He needs to get his motor cranked up because they need his ability to rush the passer.
A must-stop situation for this Oklahoma State defense. Got Kansas State backed up 3rd and 17. Only a 3-man rush. And Ogbah just about got there. Waters avoids the sack. Unloads underneath to Burton. And Burton is stopped about 2 yards shy. So sure open field tackling by the Cowboys gets the job done. And it is 3 downs and out.
And they were able to do that because Ogbah did. That's a great series for Emmanuel Ogbah. He hits a sack, and then he has the pressure, which forces the ball underneath. That's what they need out of him series after series. That's good job.
This game is not over if Oklahoma State could do something offensively. Their defense several times has gotten stops. Special teams doesn't help them, though. Tyreek Hill able to catch the punt, but takes a shot all the way back to the 16-yard line. Five and a half minutes to go in the third quarter. ESPN Saturday Night Football on ABC. Oklahoma State trailing Kansas State 28-7. The Pokes have the ball back. And let's answer our Aflac trivia question. Aflac. The impact Bill Snyder's had here in Manhattan, 23 seasons as Kansas State head coach. He's led them to 15 bowl games. How many bowl games did Kansas State participate in during the 93 seasons prior to Bill Snyder's arrival? That would be 1. The 1982 Independence Bowl. That was it. Dax Garman up the seam, and it's dropped, and that is a big play that was there to Brandon Shepard. They just couldn't execute. And again, let's take a look at that answer. You want to talk about a guy that's had an impact on a football program? That is the football program. That's what Bill Snyder has been here at Kansas State.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Bill Snyder and the job he's done and how he continues to do it. And the energy still has at 75 years old, continuing to do what he's done.
Missed opportunity there for Oklahoma State. 2nd down and 10. Tyreek Hill for 2.5. And instead of a first down catch and run, and maybe Brandon Shepard splitting safeties, now they're faced with 3rd down and long again, and Oklahoma State only 2 for 8 on 3rd down.
They have 2 guys who have consistently been able to make plays. One's Tyreek Hill, and the other one's Washington. Has that ability. They just haven't had an opportunity to get the ball in his hands. I think they have to be more creative with Washington on the outside.
Four-man rush gets there again. Dax Garman might have lost the football. It looked like the ball may have popped out. No, he holds on to the ball. But still in all, it's another sack. Elijah Lee got there first. And it is 3 downs and out as a frustrating night continues for the Oklahoma State offense.
Well, we talked about Ryan Mueller, 44. Will Gary wasn't in that time. Britz is in there. Jordan Willis. You can see they're bringing 4 guys. And with a 4-man rush, they've been crushing that Oklahoma State offensive line.
Kip Smith with a line drive. Lockett can't sidestep the first man downfield. That is a terrific special teams play by Elliot Jeffcoat. Not a bad flip of field position for Oklahoma State. But that's a real silver lining with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter of a game where they're down by 3 touchdowns. Waters over the middle. Sexton comes up with about an 8-yard reception in front of Josh Furman.
Sexton's a chain mover. Yeah, that guy's money. You need to pick up 6-7 yards, a clutch time in a game. You know where he's going to be. He's money.
Just about got to Waters, and instead of Waters down the rail, a terrific throw. Tyler Lockett comes up with the reception. He was all alone, and only him stumbling prevents another touchdown.
Yeah, the throw made him stumble. But I want you to watch this route. He, at the top of his route, he will take Peterson right there. There's the difference. It's an out and up, and the ball is thrown just a tad long, and Lockett makes sure he comes down with it. So we were looking forward to that matchup, and Lockett has been the clear winner so far.
And Emmanuel Ogbah just about got to Jake Waters before he let that one go. Charles Jones lost a yard. It was Ogbah that made the stop. But let's go back to the pressure that Ogbah put on Waters and how close he comes to knocking the ball out, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, he was no more than a foot away from getting that big right arm down on Jake Waters.
Well, we said he had to pick his game up here in the second half, and he's done just that. Not only in the pass rushing game, but you saw a tackle right there in the running game as well. Here's the matchup again. He's one-on-one on the outside.
Waters gets free. Slides at about the 20-yard line. So that's good coverage by Oklahoma State. Quickly back to the studio and Chris Cotter. All right, Chris, thanks very much. 3rd down and 10 for Kansas State. Waters has all day. Finally unloads intended for Tyler Lockett, and it's incomplete. But boy, that's terrific coverage by Oklahoma State, giving Jake Waters nowhere to go with the football despite all that time.
Nice job by that offensive line. They've had a good game all night long. And then they've gotten a couple times where they've gotten pressure, but for the most part, Jake Waters has had ample time to find an open receiver.
How many times are those college football playoff rankings going to change by the time the season's over? And how many times will it be a big game in the SEC that has to do with it? 37-yard attempt for Matthew McCrane. And he is now 7 for 7 since taking over for Jack Tantelli. So McCrane stretches the lead to 31-7. We'll step aside for 1 minute. Matt, who's lurking, in your opinion?
Oh, you just keep your eyes right there on Alabama. Alabama is playing their best football, and they've gotten comfortable with Lane Kiffin as a play caller, and he's gotten comfortable with what he has. And defensively, they're playing very well. Alabama's the team, and they're going to have to prove it down the stretch, but I think they will.
Well, you've got the Iron Bowl and the Egg Bowl both coming up later on in November, and those could be almost pseudo playoff games. Who knows? Another short kick fielded at the 20-yard line, and looking for room and getting loose down the sideline is Tyreek Hill. So that's good field position for Oklahoma State, but they are now in a deep hole. And Kansas State will have a chance to prove themselves next week. They've got the matchup, 2 top 10 teams, when they take on TCU, then on the road against West Virginia and Baylor to close out the Big 12 season.
Yeah, there's 3 teams there. That's going to be tough. Plus, obviously, an in-state rival game. That West Virginia team lost a tough one today, and Baylor can put a lot of points up on the board. So if they're going to do anything, they're going to prove it through their schedule.
If Kansas State runs the table, you think they have a Final Four spot?
That'll be a tough one.
They'll be right there.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one.
Well, they're off to a great start tonight. There's a big hit. Boy, did Denzel McDaniel come up and level Rennie Childs after a gain of a yard.
You know, some hits, all you have to do is not watch, just listen. That's beautiful.
Third down and long coming up as Childs is brought down by Travis Britz.
Travis Britz has played a heck of a game here tonight. And they're still doing the same thing. They keep their safeties back. They're spreading the field. You got 5 guys inside, and Britz keeps making plays all night long.
This is their 10th possession. Oklahoma State, after the touchdown drive to start the game, their next 8 possessions, at least 1 negative play every one of those 8 possessions.
They haven't been able to overcome them.
David Glidden's got the first down, though, so that's a 3rd down conversion to close out the quarter for Oklahoma State. 7 seconds to go. They'll roll the clock when they spot the ball. So if the Cowboys hurry, they can get 1 more snap off before the end of the quarter, but it doesn't look like they'll have time to do so, so that will take us to the 4th.
That Glidden is kind of like Sexton is for their offense. They need to get him more involved.
Oklahoma State has dug themselves a deep hole, a must-have drive when we start the 4th quarter, and we'll return to Manhattan, Kansas following these messages and a word from our local ABC stations. You're watching ESPN Saturday Night Football on ABC.
And Jake Waters, that offensive line and that defensive front, they've been money here tonight.
We start the 4th quarter with Oklahoma State near midfield, looking for their first point since the opening drive. Play action fake for Garmin up the seam.
Look for the ball.
That's a nice throw, but it pops out of the hands of Brandon Shepard and right to Jonathan Truman. Has it been that kind of night for Oklahoma State or what? DeCorey Johnson may have knocked it out of the arms of Brandon Shepard, who had a reception and then fumbled it right to Truman.
Wasn't an easy catch because the coverage was tight. But watch the difference in the play. Here's the catch. They strip it right there. And Truman, of course, always around the football, is right where he had to be. You know, Truman also was a heck of a high school wrestler. They have 4 or 5 guys on this team who are outstanding wrestlers. I think every high school football player should have some wrestling background in them. I think it helps them.
to Demarcus Robinson, and he hurdles a man down to about the 31-yard line. That's a gain of 6 for the senior from Wichita. Jumped right over the top of Jordan Stearns.
And Stearns is one of their active tacklers. Here he comes right down, and there he goes. It's great awareness.
Well, Robinson waited his turn. He was the only running back on Kansas State's roster with collegiate playing experience coming into this season, but he sat behind Daniel Thomas, John Hubert. He's a senior that finally got his first start in the season opener this year. Waters, long throw, finds Sexton, breaks a tackle. Curry Sexton breaks another tackle. First and goal, K-State.
We've been talking about Curry Sexton all night long. Every time they need a play to be made, it ends up in Sexton's hands. He's not the fastest, he's not the biggest. He just might be the best. He just keeps on coming up with play after play.
Charles Jones lines up in the Wildcat. Already has a touchdown run out of this look tonight. Second effort, and give him another.
Shoes, did you see? All he did was let his offensive line finish their blocks. He didn't rush it, kept his balance, and just stayed behind those big guys in front of him, and they just kept on moving forward. They're winning the line of scrimmage, and Jones just stayed behind him. Watch the patience number 24 Jones has. It's like a scrum up in front of him. Get back inside, do the same thing.
9 of his 11 touchdown runs this season have come out of the Wildcat, including 2 tonight. McCrane knocks it through, and Kansas State has officially blown this one open. It was set up by the strip, the recovery by Truman, and the Kansas State offense has been efficient all night. They polish off another scoring drive. Charles Jones with his second touchdown run tonight. And that has opened up a 38-7 Kansas State lead. And no return possible here. Notre Dame is playing a team that no one likes to play. How hard is it to try and get it together after you play big-time opponents that kind of run more conventional offenses in college football, and you got Navy stuck right in the middle of your season?
Yeah, it's not easy just because of the way the offense that they run. However, when you're a highly ranked team, that shouldn't matter. That should have been a speed bump for Notre Dame.
Speed to the outside, only picks up about 5 yards by Tyreek Hill. So it'll be second down and 5.
So as you look at this Kansas State team and you say, okay, let's say they do run the table. The best thing that happened to them will have been to finish it out and run the table. But the loss that they had is going to be to an Auburn team that
it looks pretty good right now.
It looks really good, and it was a close game. That was the game that they kind of beat themselves in.
3 turnovers in that game. They came into tonight with only 6 turnovers on the season, 3 of them in that game. So they've only had 3 other turnovers in their other 6 wins, and tack on what's going to be a 7th win tonight. And Bill Snyder's team, they don't beat themselves. They don't commit penalties. They don't turn the ball over. They're the only team in FBS in the top 10 in the nation in fewest turnovers and fewest penalties.
And they're not void of talent. It's just you don't see the superstar here, but you see guys like Bricks, and there he is again. That guy's a good football player. They got a bunch of good football players. They don't make mistakes, and when presented with the opportunity, like here, he's going to get through. Now we have to redirect, and you're going to see him right here, number 95, right in the middle. And as soon as he redirects, you make a play. That's not easy to do against one of the fastest people in the country.
That swim move he put on the center, Paul Lewis, made it a lot easier. A gain of a yard to Jawan Seals.
Number 80.
And all of the mistakes that we have seen Oklahoma State make, they allow sacks, they've turned the ball over, they've committed penalties. It's the kind of things that Kansas State doesn't do.
Yeah, that's the sign of the man standing right there. He preaches it, they buy into it, they believe it, and they play it.
A little salt in the wound for Dax Garment. Another sack for Jordan Willis.
Jordan Willis has had himself a really nice game here tonight. Again, it's just back to the inside, and it's a combination of things. Willis is playing well. This offensive line, you can't see me up here in the booth, but I'm holding my nose. They're not very good.
Jordan Willis with 2 sacks. Travis Britz with 2 sacks. And Tyler Lockett again deep to receive a returnable kick. Actually gets hung up in the wind a bit, so Lockett calls for a fair catch. And Bill Snyder's team has it all out in front of them as they have sewn up a win tonight over Oklahoma State. Anchorman. Obviously, they've got a little Halloween spirit still going on, and that's a little peek at what Matt Millen's going to be doing after the game.
What the heck is that?
That's a hot dog, which I'm sure you've got 3 on deck as soon as we get finished.
Throw some chili on it, and I'm there.
10.5 minutes. John Hubner comes on, replacing Jake Waters at quarterback. So a new quarterback in the game, and guess what? He's a former walk-on.
There's a shock.
Only a sophomore, but talking to Bill Snyder about John Hubner, he said his weakness is just inexperience. He understands everything that they do, and this was something I thought that Bill Snyder said was very interesting, that John Hubner gets as many snaps in practice as Jake Waters does. That the 1 and the 2 for Kansas State basically split the practice reps during the week. I was surprised by that.
Well, it may sound surprising until you realize how good a job this staff does at developing players. You know, when I watch what Bill Snyder has able to do here tonight, if you look at Jake Waters' numbers, and I thought he was the difference in the game tonight, I think back to what Nebraska was doing back in the 60s and 70s with all those walk-ons and the way they worked it. And he has been able to do that in here with walk-ons and junior college transfers and, you know, and young players and guys, and giving guys a chance that he believes he takes a specific skill and he develops it and he plugs it in. I think he's masterful.
Hubner looking for the long ball. He's got Sexton in stride. At the pylon. Is he in? The officials will maybe mark him out at the 1-foot line. Just shy of the goal line. They'll say Curry Sexton didn't get in. It's 1st and goal inside the 1. Hubner thinks he threw a touchdown pass. He's trotting off to let the kicking team come out. I think they have to send him back to the huddle. Just outside the pylon.
I don't know, that might be 6. Watch his left foot. Left foot, and the ball crosses the plane. This is not a good angle. It may not be enough to overcome, but see, his foot is on the inside of that pylon.
But the ball's on the outside.
No, the ball's on the inside. Watch, he switches hands at the end. Or he tries to shove it across like that. See that? Across his body.
I don't know that you would ever be able to overturn the call based on the angles that we have, just based on the fact that.
See that there?
Yeah, it's very close.
Yep.
It really, based on what we've seen so far tonight, only delays the inevitable.
Well, that guy
it's either
understands.
Curry Sexton with a long catch and run touchdown, or it's 1st and goal with the nose of the ball almost touching the goal line.
Well, there was 2 people in the stands who jumped very high, so I'm assuming it's probably 6. Sexton's had a monster game here tonight. But in fact, Tyler Lockett and Sexton, both of them have played extremely well. That's really.
And they really are and I'm wondering why you think they're so effective.
Right
they
here.
really are the only two weapons. Yeah, they believe it was a touchdown.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
right.
he got some elevation there too. He might be 6 or 7 inches up.
That is excellent illustration of people cheering
See
by Matt Millen.
Foot's on the inside. It looks like the ball's on the
After
inside.
further review, the ruling on the field stands. It's 1st and goal at the half-yard line.
Well, it's certainly not the half-yard line, but I can understand why they made that call, because there's not enough evidence to say that it wasn't. So
You'd have to
I
have
get
that
it.
look right down the line.
Right.
Still in all, it's 1st and goal inside the 1. And after the touchdown, maybe we'll be lucky enough to have Matt Millen illustrate a little more fan reaction. That was a treat.
That guy got some elevation. You got to like that.
The delay of the inevitable. That's a good job. Give it to Joe Eubner. Why not let the quarterback punch it through? His 2nd rushing touchdown of the season. And Kansas State stretches their lead. And a tough night continues for Oklahoma State as they are about to lose for the 3rd consecutive time.
It was interesting speaking with Mike Gundy, talking about this Kansas State team, and all he could talk about was Coach Bill Snyder. And you know what? He was right on every count.
Another kick that is not returnable. The two big weapons in the pass game for Kansas State are Curry Sexton and Tyler Lockett, and they've had themselves a night.
Well, they've made acrobatic catches. They've made big-time long gain catches. They've made things across the middle, comebacks. You name it. Lockett and Sexton have been the game here tonight. Lockett, of course, has return skills on top of it, but they've both been everything they were supposed to be. 15 receptions between the two of them, almost 250 yards or more than 250 yards. Both of them with scores. They came in here saying we got to get the ball to them. They did that, and they were difference makers.
Rennie Childs is brought down. Well, Sexton is now up to 49 catches on the season. Or check that, 46 catches on the season. And Lockett's at 49. So Sexton has 46, Lockett has 49. Coming into tonight, there was not another player for Kansas State that had more than 12 catches on the year. So they are the passing offense. As Curry Sexton and Tyler Lockett goes, so goes the passing offense for Kansas State. Dax Garman looking for a home run ball. Right into coverage, and it's jarred free. Brandon Shepard submarined by Dylan Schellenberg, and that knocked it out. Dante Barnett was there in coverage as well.
This is a well-rounded team for Kansas State. They rush the passer well. They don't commit a lot of people to the rush. Their secondary is where they're supposed to be. Again, you know, just fundamentally sound. They don't make mistakes. They don't get out of position. They make you have to earn every single yard you get.
Draw play on 3rd down. There goes Rennie Childs, and he is cut down after a half-yard gain. Denzel McDaniel came up in run support. So it will be 4th down and another 3 and out for Oklahoma State as we approach the midway point of a 4th quarter and a 2nd half really that has completely gotten away from the Cowboys. Eighth punt of the night for Kip Smith. Lockett makes a fair catch at the 35. 8 minutes to go in what has been a celebratory night for Kansas State. First drive of the night. Things look promising for Oklahoma State, but now we go back the last 13 plus quarters. That is lopsided football. 134-33 over the last 3+ games, and this will be 3 consecutive losses for Oklahoma State. Hubner throws it out on the edge. That'll be pass interference against Jordan Stearns. Stanton Weber was the intended receiver.
Pass interference, number 1, defense. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
They'll call it on Kevin Peterson instead.
Kevin Peterson is still a good football player. He got beaten at out and up. Looked bad on that out and up, but he's one of those guys who has a short memory, coming right back to it. He'll be playing on Sundays too.
There's an interception. Ramon Richards. He's going to score. And a pick 6 breaks a 45-point unanswered streak in this game for Kansas State. And the true freshman takes one to the house. 38 yards on the interception return. And that's the first career touchdown for Ramon Richards.
Well, they talked about experience, and this is how you gain it. And you know, choose the biggest thing. The best teacher are mistakes. You learn from your mistakes.
Those Cowboy fans have not had much to cheer about. Saw the looks on their faces a moment ago. Those were the looks of fans that have watched their team get outscored by 100 over the better part of the last month. But the defense scores. Some smiles on the Cowboys sideline for the moment. 45-14. Since 2010, only Oregon has scored more touchdowns, either on defense or special teams, than Oklahoma State. And they just got a pick 6 from Ramon Richards. That's the first points since the opening drive offensively for the Cowboys when they took a 7-0 lead. And then it was 45 in a row by Kansas State to make it 45-7. Now it's 45-14.
So, Shoes, the question is, what the heck's he throwing it for? It was 45-7. Run the ball. Doesn't he know I'm hungry and we need to get out of here? Jeez.
Quint Kesnick, I believe, is down there somewhere. Quint, Matt would like you to relay the message to the play callers as to what his agenda is for the rest of the night.
I've been cozying up to the heaters down here, guys. Temperatures dropping in the low 40s. Last week I was at Oklahoma State in Stillwater. It was 90+ degrees. A week later, the 50-degree switch.
Well, you bring the party with you, Quint. From the 11, it's Lockett. Lockett down the sideline. Tripped up. He almost broke free.
Now, just as an aside right there, I wouldn't have him in the game. There's no reason for him to be in the football game and risk anything. Now, I know he's competitive and I know he's a heck of a player, but there's no need for that.
Well, with what's to come, especially for Kansas State. I mean, you're talking about a team. We talked about what Bill Snyder does, doing more with less than any coach in America. Well, that's a lot of his more. And Tyler Lockett, if Tyler Lockett gets hurt, there's a talent drop-off on this team from Tyler Lockett to the player that would replace him. That's probably more severe than any other team, certainly in the college football playoff rankings. You got a top 10 team that basically has 2 big-time receivers, and he's it. Now run it with Jarvis Leverett, brought down by Vincent Taylor. And also talking, Matt, about Kansas State and what the prospect is for this team if they run the table. How much of a factor will it be, not just the teams that they would have to beat, but the fact they'll have to do it on the road? Their last 3 games against ranked opponents, they played TCU, West Virginia, and Baylor, and the whole Big 12 race could come down to that final game at Baylor. All 3 of those games are on the road. That's pretty good. If you run the table and you beat those 3 teams on the road, it will be really hard to not put you in the Final Four. If your only loss is to Auburn?
Yeah. Early as well.
Right.
So you're a better football team now, presumably, than you were to start the season.
Leverett picks up about 5 yards. And that's all being said in a vacuum. We have no idea what's going to happen in all of the other games that are going to take place between now and then. And obviously Kansas State could play extraordinarily well in those games and lose one of them, because those are 3 really good teams and 3 teams they have to beat away from home.
But you know, Shoes, we came in, we watched the film, we got our opinion, we came here and we watched them live, and they're better live than they were on film. They're a fast team. We knew they were mistake-free. We knew they were a team that had some guys who with some skills, but Sexton and Lockett and Jake Waters and the defensive front's better than I thought it was, and so this is a team that you have to consider.
I want to ask you a question about how good you think Kansas State is in relation to the other teams in their own conference, not just the rest of the top 10 in the college football playoff rankings. But we're going to head back to Chris Cotter for a moment for another scoring update after this play. Another handoff to Leverett. And he dives forward for about 3. And let's go back to Chris. All right, so Notre Dame is in trouble, at least potentially, as they only have a 3-point lead over Navy late, so that game's not over. This game has long since been over. Low throw incomplete by Hubner. So you've watched every team, Matt, so far this year in the Big 12. Would you say Kansas State is the best? On a neutral field, would you pick them to beat anyone, or would you give the nod to TCU, who right now is, at least coming into this weekend, in the college football playoff rankings, ranked 2 spots higher?
You know, I think it's one of those things. I think TCU's a heck of a football team.
And we saw Baylor do a really good job against Texas.
I think Baylor still lacks defensively, although their defensive front is better than they've been.
Yep.
And I think you can, if you take away the seams against them, they struggle. I think this is a very complete football team.
Hubner's pass is dropped.
I think they don't have the high skill level that some of the teams have. But now I'm kind of thinking about the SEC. But as far as the Big 12 goes, I think this Kansas State team is probably one of the most complete,
Number 54
along with
Kansas
TCU.
State
I think TCU is playing very
82.
good football right now. I think it's the best. And they were in a dogfight today with West Virginia, and they still found a way to win that game.
They're going to send Matthew McCrane out and give him a long distance opportunity. His long so far this season, only 38. This from 53. It's online, and it's good. Matthew McCrane is now 8 for 8 this year. He's never made one from 40 plus, much less from 50 plus, until he knocks that one through from 53 yards away.
And had enough on it to kick it a little more. That would have made it by a good at least 5 yards.
Colin Sexton, the holder, enjoyed it more than McCrane did. Jack Cantelli was the kicker to start the season, but he missed 3 kicks in the Auburn game. It was 3 turnovers and 3 missed field goals that had a lot to do,
for Kansas State is
almost
now
all to
number
do,
38.
with why Kansas State lost that game to Auburn. And Jack Cantelli was replaced by Matthew McCrane after the Auburn game, and he hasn't missed. He's now 8 for 8. That's the only loss this season for Kansas State. And again, we mentioned they've got those 3 games on the road.
Well, still a lot of football to be played. They'll have their opportunity to prove what they think they are. That's the good news. The bad news is Willie, the mascot, has some really pathetic push-ups. Really kind of disappointed in him.
Brandon Brandon Shepard takes a knee with under 5 minutes to go.
I'm going to show you
Certainly,
something.
it bears another look.
This is embarrassing. Okay, he's using his head as an excuse, like he can't go down all the way. But look at this. Look at this arm bend right here. That's not very good. Those are about quarter push-ups, and they're counting really fast. Okay, so I would say for a 48 push-up effort, he's probably only getting maybe 12 real push-ups in, and that saddens me.
Well, that's about 7.5 more than I could do. So I don't know if I'm in a position to criticize. Garmin with the give to Raymond Taylor.
So back to the drawing board for Oklahoma State.
Loss of 2.
Still a lot, there's still enough to play for. There's still the bowl games and a chance to be able to get the roster improved. But as far as what they set out for at the start of the season, that one's in the tank.
Nice move in the open field by Taylor. He's pounded down near the first down marker. Well, you had to wonder what their realistic hopes were when J.W. Walsh went down in week 2. And you start the season with a quarterback that not only is more experienced, but plays a completely different style than Dax Garmin. You know, you spend all camp in the fall and spring practice getting ready to run the diamond formation, to have a quarterback that is versatile, dual threat. And then he hurts his foot, has surgery, and is basically done for the season. And now you go to a much more kind of sedentary pocket passer. He's far less experienced. That's a tough transition for a team to make. And obviously you talked about how banged up their offensive line has been.
Yeah, and the offensive line is a big deal. But then, you know, now what that does, Shoes, is it forces you to have to change your entire offensive thinking. Because now you go into a game thinking, okay, I have a quarterback who can run, who can make some plays with his feet, who can do all, we can do on the run, we can do all these different things. Oh, he's not here anymore.
Right.
After we've practiced all through spring, all through training camp, all through everything to get ready, and all of a sudden it's gone.
So Kansas State will have the ball back near midfield, and they'll simply try to run the clock out with about 2:48 to go. And the odds are, if you had to handicap it, that Kansas State won't run the table. That to beat those 3 teams all on the road is probably too tough. But if they do it, it'd be hard to argue that they haven't earned a Final Four spot.
Want to bet?
You think they're going to do it?
I think they're going to do it.
You think they're going to beat TCU, West Virginia, and Baylor all on the road? Another quarterback change for K-State as Jesse Ertz gets a chance.
And
the third stringer to run a few plays here before the game's over.
And I'll tell you why I think they're going to do it. Because I think they're better defensively than people think they are. I think they're not going to make any mistakes.
Yeah, they don't get rattled. They don't hurt themselves.
Yeah, they don't hurt themselves. And I think there's more firepower here offensively than people give him credit for. I think Jake Waters is a little better than people think he is. I think they protect him well. I think it's a pretty complete team. They're going to get a good test next week because I think Gary Patterson's group is always good.
Ertz picks up about 2 yards. And a reminder, stay tuned for the Ford wrap-up with Chris Cotter immediately following the conclusion of tonight's game. And what a day and night it was in college football, as obviously the Final Four, or at least the projected top 4 in the college football playoff rankings, gets the shakeup, as you knew it would, with the Auburn-Ole Miss game. And Mississippi State found a way to hang on and survive against Arkansas by a touchdown as well. So you'd expect they would stay number 1. And Florida State, boy, on Thursday night, down 21-0 on the road against Louisville, as Leverett gets bumped out of bounds. Jameis Winston continues to play every snap, it seems, Matt, like the game's nothing. It's the first quarter. He's just getting started. That team doesn't look any different when they're down 21-0 than when they're up 21-0.
You know, we had the opportunity to be able to watch him earlier in the season, and he's good. He does some things that others just can't do. And he has a fantastic release. He doesn't let things bother him, as you just attested to. And he seemingly plays bigger in bigger games, and that's a great quality.
Hurts on a keeper, up the middle, and he's got, it looks like, the first down. Brought down right at the first down marker, so that'll take us under a minute to go. No, they'll say he's down about a half-yard shy, so it'll be 4th down and 1 for Kansas State. Hurts with a handoff to Leverett, and he is brought down behind the line, so a little pride shown by Oklahoma State. They get the 4th down stop with 32 seconds left. How about the Heisman, if you had to think about the race as it stands now? We didn't watch Oregon tonight.
Yeah, Marcus
and
Mariota.
the numbers that Mariota put up against a really good Stanford defense.
Yes.
We were at Stanford last week, and we saw it. Stanford in their front seven. They got 3 or 4 guys in their front seven going to play on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
And they got diced tonight by Oregon.
Yeah, I'm a big Marcus Mariota fan. I think he's as good as there is in college football, and he'll continue to be that same guy at the next level.
What about Dak Prescott?
He's having a great year.
Unbelievable year.
Yeah, he's having a great year.
And let's see if Mike Gundy even has his offense snap the ball again, as this will take us all the way down to about 15 seconds to go. And it looks like Oklahoma State will wave the white towel, and that will do it. 48-14. Kansas State marches on behind their general. Bill Snyder has the Wildcats off to a 7-1 start, 5-0, alone atop the Big 12, and they win going away. Oklahoma State scores the first 7 points of the game, and K-State comes back with the next 45 in a row. For Matt Millen, Quint Kesdick, I'm Bob Wischusen. So long from Manhattan, Kansas. A win for the Wildcats, 48-14 is the final.